Yarn is a Second Language, and we are here with another craft bite, and I wanted to dye some yarn today. I have been at work all day and all I wanted to do was come home and play with my yarn, and dyeing yarn doesn't have to take a whole lot of time. I got my new Dharma Acid Dye Kit, but I just wanted to use some Wilton's gel icing because I had a lot of questions about that after we posted my yarn dyeing unboxing. If you haven't watched that, it's up on the channel. But I got some Patton's wool here in winter white. It's not a bleached white, it's just kind of an off-white. I think that gives it a depth of color that the super bleached one doesn't give. And I think I wound off about 75 grams of this because I wanted to use some of it as accent colors when I make my, I think I'm going to make a hat. But my gel icings are Wilton's. I think they were a couple of dollars at Joann's. I got teal and I got buttercup yellow. And I thought that was kind of second grade, color the sky, color the sun. And I wanted to capture that in a yarn really quick because it's still getting kind of dark outside early, but spring is on the way. So I've wound my yarn. If you don't have a Swift, just use a couple of chairs, space them out, wind your yarn, tie it off in a couple of places, and I've had my yarn soaking for about 15-20 minutes. So let's quickly dye some yarn. Okay, I thought we'd get going. This is my dye pot. I think the pot's hissing. This is not hot. So this pot I think I got years and years ago for $6 at the Dollar General, and it's coming up. I think I've probably got about 6 cups of water in there. I've got my yarn that I've soaked and, let's see if I can pull it out, that I've soaked and wrung out. It's not dripping wet or anything, and it is tied in several spots so it doesn't become a mess in the dye pot. There's one of the ties, and I think I tied it in about 3 spots. So that has been soaking for a little bit. My pot's coming up to a simmer. I don't want to boil. I like those little bubbles. I'm just probably going to turn it down in just a second. I've got my Wilton's ready to go. And I'm going to do this all in one pot. You could separate it out and do it in a couple of pots. I've got my distilled white vinegar here. I've got some in a cup. Just enough that I can add to the pot. And I use chopsticks, these stainless steel chopsticks, to add small amounts of dye. I know there is a very scientific method to measuring out your dye per how much yarn you have and all that stuff. I just add little bits at a time until I feel like the color's right or the yarn won't soak up any more dye. You can always add more dye, you can't take any away, so just go slow. So I think my pot is pretty well ready. I see those little bubbles forming and everything, so I'm going to turn it down. We don't want to boil. Boil is bad for yarn. We just want to keep it at a simmer. That's about at 200 degrees. That's where we kind of want to be to set this yarn. So remember we said we're going to do the buttercup yellow and the teal. So I think I'm going to start with the yellow on one end, do the teal on the other. So I'm just going to try to show you how messy I keep my supplies here. I'm roughly gonna aim for about 1/4 teaspoon to do about half my skein of yarn. Ooh. And with the chopstick I can stay very far away from the boiling water or almost boiling water. And maybe one more. I think I've learned that doing it this way gives me a little bit more control. So, okay, I do always put the lids back on because I don't want to knock something over. I've got some of my white vinegar. Let's start with 2 tablespoons. Maybe that's too much. I don't know. I am not very scientific with my yarn dyeing because it's yarn. I like to play with color, and this is very much playtime for me. So let's put this over. Let's shake out our skein here. It's gotten a little jumbled in the pot, and I don't want you to see how messy I am. So, all right, so I'm gonna dye about half of this at a time. I'm gonna do half in the buttercup and half in the teal, and I'll probably get some mixing in the middle. So I'm gonna turn this up just a little bit. So here we go. So I'm just gonna kind of gently swoosh it in there. Like I said, if I don't like the color I'm getting, I can add some more. But I think it's gonna be very pretty. I'm not necessarily trying to make a gradient for the yellow or anything. It's just, I don't want to add too much before I get to the middle part. So we're already getting, oh well, I'm dip dyeing it, so we will get a little bit of a gradient if I go that slow. But I just want to give the dye time to saturate in there. Oh, I love this part. Look at it. We're getting there. And it does, I'm not, you know, measuring or anything. It doesn't have to be exact. But I love this part. I like to use a tall pot so I can kind of rest it on the side if I need to. I want a fair bit of teal also, so I don't want to, look at that. So I am going to rest that on there. I'm going to use my chopstick to gently move the strands apart a little bit. And they're just going to soak up that dye. And I'm glad I tied it in a bunch of spots because I would have yarn spaghetti in there and it'd be awful. I don't mind detangling yarn a little bit, but I much prefer knitting it. So I might dip a little bit more in. I think we're a little bit less than half. But we will get some nice variations because I can see that end there is a little bit darker than everywhere else. And I tend to poke and prod at it a lot. But we're getting, yeah, I think we'll go a little bit more. I may have put a bit more yellow in than I should have, but we'll see. Maybe we'll have a big pop of, a big blurb of teal on the end. So I'm keeping my hands very far away from the boiling water or near boiling water. So I think that's about as far as I want to go with how much more yarn I've got. So I'm going to let this sit for just a little while and see if we can soak up some more of that color before we move on to the teal. Okay, we're back and it's been about 10, 15, maybe 10 minutes. And our yarn has soaked up all the color. I promise it's not a magic trick. Soaked up all the color from our pot. So I still got about half, and I could leave it like that. I think that would be pretty too. But I want to do a little of that teal. So let's let this drain. Looks very pretty to me, and we did get a little bit of a gradient, which is alright. It's alright, it's alright. So this, and remember you're working with boiling water, hot, hot, hot water. So I wanted to mention, of course, when I started wanting to do this, I'd seen a video on YouTube by Rebecca of Kim Knits, and she is a wonderful resource if you wanted to learn all about how to do this. And she has done a lot of testing and experimenting, and she's got it down pat. I'm trying to be like her. So our pot's very, very clear. I'm going to use the same water, same vinegar solution, everything. I might add a teeny bit more vinegar, but we're going to use our teal now. I might add a little less because I feel like the teal is very strong. So maybe just one. Ooh. And it is so tempting for me to add some more dye at this point, just because. But I'm going to restrain myself and see where we are. This has cooled down quite a bit. I can handle it. So we'll use the other end. I don't know how much of this white we're going to keep in the middle, but we'll see, and do the same process. And I like that I got a little bit of a gradient, so we'll do that too. We'll just kind of slowly go and see what we get. So when I was a little kid, I did, color the sun yellow in the corner of the paper, and the sky was blue. Then I had some white clouds and the little M-shaped birds you put in there. I guess they were, I don't know, seagulls or something. I never saw seagulls when I was a kid. I live in a landlocked state. So that was very kid stylized, I think. But springtime always reminds me of that, because you get the little tulips that kids make on pictures, and just the grass and the flowers, and they might draw their house. And it was just a happy, happy memory, that I had. So I kind of wanted to recreate that today. I'm glad I didn't oversaturate the pot with a lot more dye, because I think we're gonna make it to where I'd like to see. We see we got that yellow coming up, so I want to really saturate it in and it kind of fade up so I can get all the colors of the sky in there. So I'm trying to go very slowly. And we might, I don't know, leave a little bit of white in the middle to represent those clouds. Maybe, if I can resist dyeing some of this yarn. But what's your favorite memory of being artistic as a kid? My mother is very, very crafty, very, very artistic, and she let me experiment with a lot of things. I got to sew, I got to knit. I didn't know knit, I got to crochet. That's where the Barbie story came in. But I did get to experiment with a lot of different crafts, because I think she was trying to, and very successfully taught me, that it's okay to make mistakes. It's alright. It's okay to try different things. It's okay to try things you're not good at, that you're not going to be perfect at. And it's okay to keep trying that to get better at it. So here I am now, Mom, dyeing yarn. Ooh, I love that. Look at that. I got some sort of little yarn sheet going on here, and I like it. I'm gonna try to leave some white. I think I'm liking that. But this is very end of the day kind of relaxing for me. And I'm taking way more time than I thought I would because I'm into it. I like it. So, but you can very definitely plan this out for a quiet time in your house. Look at that. I'm liking this so much. I'm going to go a little bit further, get the pale of that teal. And you can see it's lightening up in that pot a little bit. I am so glad I didn't put a whole bunch more of teal in. Look a little bit further. But I'm loving these shades we're getting. And I think we're getting there. So yeah, when I was a kid, I got to experiment with a lot. I was encouraged to. I got to listen to a lot of different music, a lot of different shows, kid appropriate, and read a lot of different books. And my parents taught me not to be afraid, to be curious about things. And not to be ashamed of things you were into necessarily that, you know, other people weren't. When I was a little girl, I listened to a lot of Pink Floyd with my dad. But, okay, we're gonna, I don't know if you want to watch this or not. We'll keep talking, but I'm loving this. I love the deep buttercup on the end. I love that little bit of cloudy white we have in the middle. I love this gradient of teal we're getting. It seems so hopeful. So we are almost out of color. So the only thing left I'm going to do tonight is let this set in the water after I soak up all of this teal, which is going to be in a very little bit here, and let it heat set in the water. I'm going to, since there won't be any more color, I'm going to go ahead and add this buttercup in also. I don't think it's going to change the color very much since I've already soaked it all up. But that will be it for the evening. I'll probably let it cool down in the pot, deal with it tomorrow. But if I'm very impatient, which I might be, I'll let it heat set for about 20 minutes in the pot, you know, just on this kind of low simmer we've got. And then I might take it out, let the yarn cool down. Remember, still hot yarn. And I could let it cool all the way down and wash it and hang it up so I can see how it looks tomorrow. It's so tempting. But I know sometimes I get short on time, and I'll leave the yarn in the pot and, you know, deal with it tomorrow. I'll have something to look forward to. But I love this, and I love that you did this with me. Thank you so much. This turned out much better than I thought it was going to. I love it. So I think the color is, I think we're getting some shine from the teal yarn back in there, but I can't see very much color in there. So I'm gonna maybe switch this a couple more times, and in our next craft bite, maybe I'll show you what it looks like skeined up, and maybe we'll knit something with this. I love this. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been so much fun and so relaxing. But I hope you are enjoying our craft bites. I hope you enjoyed my yarn dyeing, and we hope to have you back soon. Okay, Bye.